Hello friends, it's Greg here again on the Blue Feather Ephemera channel. I have an eBay store by the same name where I sell vintage magazine print advertising, and every week I make a video to show you what's sold in my store. We've had a great week of sales and I'm eager to show you those ads. And then after that, we're going to talk about a bonus topic like we always do. This week, I'm going to tell you about a negative feedback I received from a customer and how I dealt with it and how eBay took my side and removed that feedback. So it's not a deep dive, it's not a how-to, it's not any kind of instruction. It's just the story of this one incident. But I do want to share it with you because it's pretty funny when you get into it. So I hope that you enjoy the telling of that story. I'll show you some of the messages and a few other things as we go along. But for right now, let's take a look at those ads. All right, we're going to work backwards. This is the most recent sale during the past week, and this is an ad for Menon Speed Stick deodorant, and it appeared in Playboy magazine 1967. It's an ad that's about as basic as it gets, and in the dimensions here you can see it's a half-page ad. This shows a fella fresh out of the shower and he's got his speed stick in his hand. $14.77, sent that to California. Here we've got the oldest ad of the week that I sold from 1936. The advertiser is the Insurance Company of North America, and it was either based in Philadelphia or a Philadelphia-based office of the company was the one that ran the ad. I'll show you what that looks like right down here. Insurance Company of North America, Philadelphia. And of course, fire insurance is the topic of the ad. This ran in Fortune magazine, by the way, but it talks about Fire Prevention Week, 1936, October the 4th to the 10th. Nice poster on the wall by the fireman here, and he's wearing his turnout gear with that old style leather helmet. That's a nice looking ad. Any firefighter probably would be chomping at the bit to own it. And I sold it to a buyer in Delaware for $18.77. This next ad don't have much to say for itself, so I really don't have much to say about it either. It's a perfume called Norel. It ran in Classic Magazine 1975. It's a full-page black and white ad. I threw in cologne spray. It says in the ad, it says it's the first great perfume born in America. So I put born America and also elegant bottle just to have a couple of more keywords in the title. But there's a picture of the larger image. $16.77, sent it to Indiana. Here's a shoe ad from 1958 for the I. Miller Company. The shoe is called the Turban, and down in the text of the ad there, it says the shoe has the look of elegance, and I called it a stiletto. I'm pretty sure that's what it is, although I'm not well versed in shoe terminology. It's got a pointy toe and a pointy heel, so I think that makes it a stiletto. $12.77, sent this to Florida. Here's an ad we can spend an extra minute on. This is a computer ad from Byte Magazine, 1977. Now, that's a new title in my store. I got a hold of a few and I'm trying them out. The jury's out. This is a nice ad, but honestly, flipping through the magazine, I would say probably 80 or 90% of the ads look the same, black and white with just lists of processors and parts and data and schematics and clocks and peripherals and all that kind of stuff. Most of the ads look the same. And so I don't know if it'll be a big hit. The reason I'm giving these ads a try though is all of these computer places, this is early. 1977 is early in personal computing, but all of these computer places have the names of the towns, either where the computers are built or where the stores are where they're selling computers out of. And I think with some of those smaller places, especially on the West Coast, I've seen Santa Ana, Santa Monica, um, Huntington Beach, and San Jose, a lot of the Silicon Valley stuff. Emeryville is this one right here. So we'll find out how it goes. But anyway, I sold this for $34.77, and it's a mix of kind of the flashy color along with some of the text detail that folks might find boring. But what I did is I laid this out. I'm going to show you how I photographed it. There is the first page. And then when you flip page one over, you've got the second page, also color and a nice view of the components here, including what looks like a TV set. Back in the day when personal computing was new, folks typically used an old black and white set for their computer monitor. And so you have a hint of that here. And then on page 3 of the ad, this is where it starts into all of the data and stuff like that. Here is page 4 of 14. No, I'm sorry, that's 4 of 14 pictures. That's just a close up of that third page. I'm sorry. And then here are pages 4 and 5 together, and there's the seam in the middle. So this is again another 2-page spread, but you see it's all data packed and everything there. A close up of page 4, and here's a close up of page 5, and then this is the last page of the listing, which is page 6, and it does show a piece of a computer there. So there's another image on page 6 of the listing. Then every other picture is just a pan out showing the size of the pages so that the buyer can see that. That's how I photographed it. So anyway, I also wanted to mention too that I was a little bit embarrassed about this ad because I was watching Marty's live show last night, and they were talking about sales in the past week, and somebody mentioned sales over $30. And so I wanted to chime in proudly that I had sold an ad over $30. The very comment right before mine, somebody said, I sold an ad for $34. And, I'm so used to saying 77 cents that I just went ahead and chucked it in too. And so the very next one that popped up was mine before I even saw the previous comment. And I said, I sold an ad for $34.77. And then somebody remarked, oh, Blue Feather won by 77 cents. And that wasn't my intention at all to one up anybody. I was just, throwing my comment in there, but it might have come across the wrong way. Just a little funny story there. Anyway, a buyer in France saw this and had to have it, so it's going to France for $34.77. Here's a nice half-page ad from Look Magazine, 1939, and this is an advertisement for Nestle's Crunch Milk Chocolate Bar, and it features the comedians Stan Laurel and Oliver Hardy. And of course, when you have celebrity endorsements like this, they're usually pitching some kind of an upcoming project. And it says that they're going to be featured in Hal Roach's production, A Chump at Oxford. And the title of this little comic sequence here is called It's an Inside Job. And so Stan Laurel, he's got a candy bar there, a Nestle Crunch candy bar, and Hardy wants him to share. And so he grabs it and he says, we'll divide it in half. He said, I'll take the inside half. So I think it's kind of funny. I love Laurel and Hardy. And as a matter of fact, I sold this ad earlier in the week and I had it on my mind last night. So when I settled in for the night, I turned on an old movie of theirs called Way Out West. It was done in 1939 done in 1937. That was the year after a movie came out called Trail of the Lonesome Pine. That starred Sylvia Sidney, Fred McMurray, and Henry Fonda, and that was set in the area right around my hometown here in southeast Kentucky. The author of the book that the movie's based on, his name is John Fox Jr. He wrote a lot of popular books around the turn of the century, and that one was actually made into a movie 4 different times. 1936, I think, was most recent. But anyway, is a really good movie too. One of the first movies done in color. So there was a song in that movie called Trail of the Lonesome Pine. The movie was popular, the song was popular, the book was popular, and Laurel and Hardy did a rendition of Trail of the Lonesome Pine in that movie that I watched last night called Way Out West. So it's a great little movie. If you get a chance, go watch it. It's free on YouTube. Anyway, here in this ad, I sold it for $14.77. It's on its way to Laurel and Hardy fans in the United Kingdom. This ad brings back memories because it's one of the very first ads that I shared when I started making videos back in January. And it's a Dayton Marine Catyak. It's a twin hull catamaran style sailboat. It's got a twin plastic hull. It's got the setup here that mounts on it so that you can put up a sail and sail your twin hull kayak around. So just a fun little ad, a fun product, and $12.77 sent this to Michigan. It ran in Boating Magazine 1972. And I should clarify that ad I sold back in January was from a different issue of the publication. It was similar but not identical. Here's a 1937 advertisement that ran in the Farmer's Wife magazine, and it's an ad for Absorbing Junior Athlete's Foot Care. It's a medicine that treats and prevents athlete's foot. It also takes care of some muscle aches and does a few other things. But in this advertisement, I chose to use a photograph of only a piece of the ad here. I zoomed in on home life of a carrier because that's kind of attention grabbing. But when you focus in on it, it's actually a quarter page article, vertical. And in it, it just talks about how dad brings in the athlete's foot from the club and spreads it to mom and the kids. So this medicine can be used to get rid of athlete's foot. I sold it for $12.77. It's on its way to California. Here's a groovy ad from 1968. It appeared in American Girl magazine. It's got its psychedelic text font there and a bunch of nice bright colors. And, you can call them Brady Bunch colors or Partridge Family colors or whatever. But this ad has a special offer. You can send in and get what's called Ops and Pops. It's pop over tops that are made of vinyl, and it says you can wear them over mini skirts and jeans or wear them over anything in electric color combinations. So a nice bright ad there. Let's zoom in on it a little bit better on this screen. They've got all of these bright colorful pins, and there's some information about the offer. You can get one of those tops for only $1.59 with a special coupon. So fun ad there from American Girl magazine. I sold it for $16.77. It's going to Texas. Here's a fun ad, and this is one of the reasons why I like listing ads from Classic Magazine is because you read all about horses, and when you do, you see all of these really cool horse names, and a lot of them make me laugh. I'm easily amused, I guess you'd say. But from Classic Magazine, 1976, this ad ran or I sold it for $16.77. And I'm going to show you some of these horse names here that I'm talking about. And, trust me, I probably pronounce less than half of them right. But anyway, Son Ange, Son Ange, I don't know. But anyway, Raise a Native and Monange, Tom Fool. And so Tom Fool, I should have started with Tom Fool, shouldn't I? Because I can say that. Anyway, you go on down the list here, and it says that this horse is a half brother to Stakes winner Tarbouche, and also out of a full sister to Tim Tam, half sister to On and On, family of Ms. Clementine, Best Turn, to Leah, and Chris Evert. So back in the 1970s, when Chris Evert was a tennis star, she was also a horse. You go down the list here, and at the Stallion Station, this is a place, it's a farm where they have stallions standing at stud. And so that's all about horse breeding. But other stallions that they have: Blue Prince, Bold and Brave, Bold Commander. I'm going to skip that one. Court Recess, Gallant Romeo, Governor Max, Handsome Boy, Irish Castle, Jack Sprat, Judgeable, Lothario, Outdoors, Poker, The Irish Lord, Tumalo, Twist the Axe, and White Gloves too. So a bunch of fun horse names in that ad. I had fun sharing them with you. 1677 sent this ad to Kentucky. This ad from 1953 is a really nice one that ran in Look magazine. I just love this green color on the white background. It's like the Laurel and Hardy ad we saw a few minutes ago. That one color, blue, stood out on that page. This color green stands out. I've said this before, and I shouldn't waste your time saying it again, but I really love the look of those single color ads from the mid century. This is for Elna portable sewing machines. It says you can pick your stitch and drop it in. And so this is relatively new technology from that period of time. At the top of these little discs that you're seeing, it shows you the exact stitch that the sewing machine will make when you use these discs. And down here, you see it on cloth, the various stitch patterns that you can do just by changing out those discs. It says there's no attachments to screw on or no dials to turn. Up here, it says it's as easy as playing a record, because it's talking about the round disc like a record disc, I guess. But anyway, a very nice ad here. $12.77 sent it to Louisiana. This ad from 1960 ran in a special insert to supplement the Louisville Courier Journal Sunday edition. In November of that year, they were commemorating the 100th anniversary of the Civil War. I got a hold of that publication. Friends gave it to me. I've talked about it a lot and sold some beautiful ads out of it. This is another one. This is for Kentucky's rural electric cooperatives, and it's comparing 1935 to 1960. In 1935, only 3% of Kentucky farm families had access to electric power. With their 52,000 miles of transmission lines, the dark ages are past in 1960. 97% of Kentucky's farms have been electrified. 250,000 rural families are enjoying a finer way of life. So that oil lamp you see in the picture there is a souvenir of the dark ages. So Kentucky RECC, I sold this ad for $14.77, and it only went about 30 miles down the road from me. From 1990, here's a Miller Beer ad that ran in Penthouse magazine. And even though it's a full page and full color, because it's so recent, I charged only $10.77 for it. And in this article, it's talking about global warming. And this is probably an early mention of global warming because, well, in the 1970s, we had the existential threat of the coming ice age. And I remember seeing National Geographic covers, Scientific American covers about that kind of thing. And then in the 1980s, it was the hole in the ozone layer. And by the time 1990 rolled around, global warming starts to appear. And well, I guess technically it still is global warming, but they call it climate change now. But this ad pokes fun at the science a little bit because it says, global warming is no problem if you've got a cold 6-pack of Miller Genuine Draft. So $10.77 sent this ad to Texas. Here's another ad. This is the last one of the week, by the way. Technically, the first sale of the week since I've been going backwards in time here. But this is the second ad that sold from that Bite magazine from 1977. That's the one I mentioned earlier that I'm trying out. And this is for the IBM 5100 portable computer. When you look at it a little bit closer here, it shows this fella holding the computer, and over here on the right side is all of the details about it as far as memory and uh, the the computer screen and all of that. Taking a closer look, I'm going to zoom into the screen. That's a really, really small screen, but the details say that it's a 1024 character screen. It's got the magnetic tape drive, so analog recording for memory, and then it's got a printer on board that prints forwards and backwards. It's a bi-directional printer. So just all kinds of bells and whistles on this 1977 computer here. And I can look at this. I'm doing this video on my laptop right now, and I'm looking at this laptop and I'm looking at that computer and thinking, boy, we've come a long way in 40 years. So anyway, a fun ad to see. I sold it for $28.77. It's on its way to Germany. Okay, here we are at the weekly recap screen. You can see this is week 36 of 2024, and I sold 15 ads from 12 different magazine titles this week, and the total $253.55. If anybody's keeping score, though, you know I've only showed you 14 ads so far. I've got one more to show you, and that's because it's the topic of our weekly bonus topic. So let's get into that. All right, I'm not trying to confuse anybody on purpose, but what I've got to show you here is ad number 15 that I credit for this week, and it's also the bonus topic because I am making video number 33, what sold video number 33, right? Hey, I love that sound. I wonder what sold. Anyway, I'm working on video number 33. If you go all the way back to video number 8, any of you might have watched it, some of you maybe. You've seen this piece of paper before. This ran in Classic Magazine 1979. The product is Dunhill of London. It's a pen and a lighter and a planner that you see in this picture here. I'll zoom in and we'll take a little bit closer look at it. And there you go. These are the products in the advertisement. Okay. I'm going to pause here and see if I can go back to video number 8 and replay that for you right now. Well, what I've just figured out is I can give you the video replay from my 8th What Sold video to show you that when the buyer received this ad, they rejected it, they requested a return, and the next screen shows why. And so when I'm showing this from that 8th video, I'm explaining that the buyer in their return request said they ordered it by mistake. They thought they were getting an actual pen lighter. They didn't realize it was a poster. And so I approved the return request. They sent it back. I refunded money. Case closed. No big deal. So here we are again, looking at my recent sale. And after that came back to me in February or March, whenever it was, I didn't take it out of the cellophane sleeve. I didn't remove the back end. I just put the ad, the backboard, and the plastic sleeve. I just slid it all back down in the envelope that holds that whole SKU. I returned it to my live listings, and it sat there for another 5 months. Okay. And then it sells. And when it sold, it crossed my mind, whoever bought this last time didn't realize that they were just buying an ad, but it's in the collectibles advertising category, type of advertising, print advertising. It says it in the category, it says it in the listing, it says it in the item specifics, and it says it in the item description. So, against my better judgment, I did not reach out to the buyer and say, hey, you understand this is a print ad, right? Because on 800 and something other advertisements that I've sold, I've not needed to do that. So it was already backed and sleeved, and I slid it in a mailer, and I printed the label, and I shipped it out. 4 days later, I get a return request, and this is what it looks like. So here's the return request. The buyer, the customer, said that the return reason was for missing parts or pieces, and in the comments, it says nothing but a picture, not what I ordered. Okay. So now we look at the dialogue that I had with the customer. The item was purchased on August the 8th and delivered 4 days later. And the return was started that same day with the reasons that he stated. And so I sent a message. I ended up when I sent that message, I couldn't find it after I sent it. I thought maybe it didn't go through. So I basically redrafted a message when I had a little bit more time. It's a longer message, but it says the same thing. So I'll just read one instead of both of them. But it says, as stated in the title of the listing and in the item specifics and in the item description, the item you purchased from the eBay category collectibles, advertising, other collectible ads, type of advertising, magazine print ad is the exact item pictured and described in the listing. I'm sorry you didn't understand that you were purchasing a magazine print advertisement. The photos you provide show you received the exact item that you ordered on time and undamaged. Since what you ordered is not what you wanted, I'm happy to approve your return request. eBay will provide you with a return shipping label for your convenience. Please repackage the vintage print ad in the mailer in which you received it, as it looks to be in great shape. That will help ensure that it isn't damaged during the return trip. Upon receipt, I will issue you a refund for the item. In the meantime, please return to your return request and update your return reason to ordered by mistake, or I changed my mind. That will help me persuade eBay that I should not be charged with an item defect. Thank you for your attention to my request. Best regards, Greg. Now, I'm not 100% certain that a customer can change the return request reason once they've entered it, but I figured if he couldn't, he'd tell me so. But he wasn't, he ended up not being willing to do that, never mentioned it. My next message to him, I found the first message I sent. I said, I apologize for the duplicate messages earlier. I couldn't find confirmation that the first one went through, Greg. Okay. The buyer sent you a message and he said, nice scheme. Now refund my money back, you a-hole. Okay. So that didn't go over as expected. I said, Ryan, there's no scam, sir. Vintage magazine print advertising is a popular category of collectible on eBay with hundreds of sellers and nearly 500,000 listings up for sale. More than 2,000 monthly sales make this ephemera category one of the most fun and interesting for both sellers and collectors. Regarding your return request, approval is not contingent upon you amending your return reason. It will be approved regardless. I want every buyer of my vintage print ads to be completely satisfied, and so I always accept returns for any reason for a full 30 days. If you'd rather not change your return reason, then I'll take up the resulting seller defect with eBay. I saw in the pictures that you removed the ad from its protective packaging. Once you're notified by eBay that your return shipping label is ready to print, please place the ad and the backing board within the plastic sleeve and be careful of the adhesive strip on the clear sleeve as it can stick to the ad itself, causing damage. Then seal it in the Stay Flat mailer and tape it closed securely and affix the label over the original label I bought to ship the ad to you. Once the ad is received, inspected, and determined to be in its original condition, your refund should process within 2 days. Finally, if you have any suggestions I can employ to prevent other shoppers from making the same mistake, please let me know. I'm always looking for ways to improve the customer experience. Best regards, Greg. So then he said, refund my money, please. Send return sticker. So at that point, that's what I did. And when you go into returns, you can authorize the return shipping label be provided by email. They send that um, directly to the customer. And if the customer uses it, then eBay charges you for it. So that's what happened next. Oh, before I go on, I almost forgot. I did want to show you the pictures that he sent. He was kind enough to attach 10 different pictures of the print ad that he received. And I won't show you the first one because it's got the address information on the eBay label. But he laid out my business card. So I've got a picture of my business card and his toes. And then here's a picture of the ad itself and his toes. And here's another picture of the ad and his toes. And here is the back of the cardboard and his toes. Oh, I didn't. That was it. Okay. And here is a blurry picture of my card, and thank God his toes are blurry too. Here's the back of the ad and his toes. Here's the back of the ad without the toes. Here's the front of the ad and his toes. And another picture of the front of the ad and his toes. Now, in this picture, and I don't want to linger on the dude's toes at all, but in this picture, it definitely looks like this ad is creased across the middle, and it was not like that when it was sent. And when I sent him the first message or two, I had not recognized that. I said it looks like it arrived in great shape. And the reason I said that is because I opened his return request and reviewed his pictures on my phone, and I couldn't see the crease in the ad page on my phone, but he had already damaged it before he sent the pictures. And so, um, you know, even if he had just, printed the label and sent it back, I probably would have refunded the money, even though he had already called me an a-hole. But I, long story short, I never got the ad back. But there's more to the story before I get there. I just gave away the end. Oh well. We'll finish this up. So the saga continues, and it's been 3 or 4 days, and I'm waiting for the notification that the item has shipped. It's on its way back. And then another message from the buyer pops up. Apparently, he's not finished communicating. He sends me a message that says, please mail me a return label. I don't have a printer. And I said, in response, I'm not unwilling to do that, but your email from eBay includes a QR code in the download that you can present to the post office clerk and they will print it for you. Please advise if you'd rather do that to prevent delay. Best regards, Greg. Again, I'm trying to help. I'm doing my best to be helpful. And, I'm giving the customer solutions that they can use. He responds back. He says, I'm disabled. I'd appreciate it if you can mail it to me. Thanks. I'm like, okay, I'm willing to help a guy out. I'll give it a try. And I said as much in the next message. I said, it'll go in the mail this afternoon. And he replied, thank you. My next message went out to the customer just about 3 hours later, and it says, good afternoon, Ryan. I regret I must renege on the promise to mail you a return label, but since you've already been provided one by eBay, it's no longer among the options available to me as a seller. I searched throughout the online seller toolkit for an option to cancel your return label so that I could choose a different option, but to no avail. My best advice is to ask your letter carrier how to get your label. Sometimes they have access to a portable thermal printer, or maybe you can forward your email to your local post office so that they can print your label and send it to you by the letter carrier. And there's more. The rest of the message says, again, I apologize, but it's a unique situation you've presented me with that I don't think eBay ever anticipated. The good news is that my return window policy gives you 27 more days to resolve your printer access problem. And it just occurred to me maybe your local public library can help you with printing the label. I hope this is helpful, Greg. So that was the last he heard from me and the last that I heard from him until I got negative feedback. So as I kind of wrap up the explanation of what happened, oh, and by the way, I'm going to talk about why real quick in just a minute. But as far as what happened, what you don't see here, what I failed to get was the like a screenshot of the actual negative feedback, but it was negative and it was 3 words. It said, "Yeah, scam artist," which is not real helpful to anybody. But anyway, so I opened a case uh, in disputes against the buyer because they falsely claimed that they did not receive what they ordered. And that would have been a buyer abuse of the return policy. And so uh, I kind of typed out a statement. That's the other thing that you don't see here. I didn't realize that it wouldn't be saved in the case details, but it's not. What I typed out was basically just what happened. I said, not only was the buyer wrong in his allegation, but he was rude about it. And so I got this back from eBay. I got this in the resolution screen, and I also got an email from them with the same thing saying that the case was decided in my favor. But basically, it didn't say that the customer did anything wrong. It just said they closed the case in my favor because the buyer did not return the item within the required time frame. And it says the case won't affect my seller performance. Any feedback left for this transaction will be removed, and it was. So I'm back to 100% feedback. Now, we'll talk about why real quick. Now, as far as the why, let's take a look at what's on this screen. It says the order total is $19.26, but up in the case details, it said that the case value was $18.06. And the difference is the $1.20 of sales tax. And basically, I guess they treat it as never collected, so never paid or whatever. But anyway, $18.06. When you go on down to the bottom to read this, it says the order earnings after payment for the ad and all that kind of stuff. And then the shipping label cost and the transaction fees from eBay and all that kind of stuff is $10.18. So instead of refunding $18.06, I actually made $10.18 minus my shipping supplies. But roughly $25 is my net outcome from this. And trust me, I put in way more time and effort and just thinking about it and reading stuff than the $25 is worth. But as a seller, I think I owe it to other sellers not to reward and reinforce bad behavior on the part of buyers. Like I said, if I had got the ad back, even if it was bent, creased, whatever, even though it was the buyer's mistake, and even though he was rude, if I had just got it back, then I probably would have refunded most or all, even though he damaged it. But I mean, the point is to try to teach them to be, more responsible customers as well. And maybe I take that a little too seriously. I don't know. But I went as part of trying to figure out what to do with this guy and what to do about it. I went and I looked at his feedback, and he had left negative feedback for about 4 or 5 sellers, and he had left, some other folks had left feedback for him that I thought was interesting as well. But what I puzzled out is there was at least 6 times documented in feedback. Who knows how many more times that were not documented in feedback? But feedback stays on there where you can see it for a year. And at least 6 times during the past year, this customer had reported non-receipt of an item. And granted, he buys a lot of stuff, but now I've been getting mail for, well, that I can remember, for 40 years. I don't know that I've ever had a lost item, but I worked for the U.S. Postal Service for 2.5 years. I know lost items occur. I'm not saying that it don't, but for one customer to have 6 documented lost items in 1 year, I'm kind of suspecting that if an item arrives that misses a delivery scan, I'm thinking for everything that he receives, he probably goes online and checks for a delivery scan. If it's not there, I'm thinking that he probably reports a missing item. Um, that's just a guess. But anyway, either way, regardless, uh, he didn't do his part. He didn't send the item back, and he did misstate the return reason. And I tried to help him with that. I was pleasant and polite throughout the whole thing with him. I stated my case to eBay, and in the end, eBay took my side and removed the negative feedback, and I got to keep the money from the sale. I thought I was going to get the item back. I thought I was going to have an opportunity to sell the same piece of paper, not just 2, but maybe 3 times if it sold in the future. But I was kind of robbed of that. Uh, 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 Robbed of the satisfaction of accomplishing that feat. But anyway, so there is the story of the Dunhill returned return, and I just wanted to share that with you. I hope you found it fun and interesting to listen to. Like I said, this is not a how-to. I'm just telling you what I did. It may give you some ideas for what to do in the future when you encounter a similar situation. But I think it's especially funny since Marty had contact from a buyer just last week wanting to know if all of the features of the Speed Queen washing machine in his print ad were in working order for $10. So anyway, we just got to laugh sometimes, don't we? All right, that takes care of the bonus topic, and I appreciate you sticking around to listen to it. I hope you'll join me again next week when we'll talk about something else. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more content like it, there's several ways to support the channel. Hit the like button. Also, share this with friends and subscribe to the channel. That way you'll be notified when new videos drop. And then also, leave a comment if you have questions or suggestions or just want to send a friendly hello. I'd love to hear from you.